Hi everyone. Today we have very special guest with us who has vast experience into recruitment. And I would say recruitment is just one part of what he is, right? So, rather than me saying what he is and what he is doing, what he has done till date, I think he himself telling it will make more sense, in fact. So, welcome Ashwin.
Thank you. Thanks.
So, to just give a quick introduction, Ashwin heads the talent acquisition for the DBS Bank. He has worked at multiple countries, headed or led the talent acquisition for multiple banks like Standard Chartered, DBS. Ashwin, who has to tell us.
Thanks, Karthik. So thanks for having me here. Yeah, like you rightly said, I come with a strong technology recruitment background. So yeah, I come with about 18 years of work experience, of which I spent about close to a decade outside of India. And I made a comeback in 2016 back home. It's like nothing like being back home, right? So ever since I've come back, I was with Standard Chartered, and then I joined DBS Bank Technology, which is actually a technology arm of the DBS Bank in India, couple of years back. So this is as we speak, I think it's my third year. Sorry, I lost count. Yeah. So I actually specialize in technology recruitment, and I've got a blend of experience in both perm staffing as well as contract staffing, right? So that's my specialty, and I'm here to discuss today about the various topics that you have for me.
Sure. Great, wonderful. Sure.
Yeah.
So I think the kind of organization that you work, those are the very aspirational organizations. I mean, coming to our students' perspective, for them to getting into companies like that, they generally, they have higher aspirations to get into the companies of that sort, right? So just wanted to, before getting into the, what exactly that you expect from the students and all those things, I just want to understand a bit of this perspective. I think you're saying you worked at different countries. Can you just repeat what are the countries that you worked earlier?
I was in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and India.
India, great. So, in the overall recruitment landscape, right? So, be it in terms of the recruiters' side or be it in the side of the students, what are the differences that you observed the entire recruitment in India as well as in other countries?
See, I think as far as talent is concerned, the cultural dynamics plays a very important role, right? I mean, for example, the way we interview candidates here versus the way we interview candidates elsewhere, especially on that side of the world. You may say that in India we have abundance of talent. You talk about any technology, any skill that you can recall. There's an abundant talent available in India. So when it comes to meeting candidates, you always have a spread to choose, right? You like candidate A, good. You don't like, then you go to candidate B and then to candidate C. Versus a very small, limited talent pool in countries like Malaysia and also to some extent in Singapore. I'm talking about tech talent, right? There you're left with few choices. Now, how does that actually helps organizations to realize the potential in a candidate, right? Those countries, due to some of these limitations, will give you an opportunity to see the potential in a candidate. So when you interview somebody, you don't just interview for 100% fitment, but you also look at the other attributes in a candidate: potential, right, caliber, abilities, besides the core tech skills, right? That actually makes a lot of those good decisions, out of the box thinking decisions for any hiring manager. Versus India, like I said, one of the, I don't know, you call that as an advantage or a disadvantage, having so many people available for you. I think we always look for 100% fitment. And I think of late, I see a change in that perception from the hiring panel. I think today they are looking at not just technical fitment, but also the other attributes in a candidate, right? And why do we say that? Technology landscape is very dynamic today. You get newer version every other year. You get newer technologies every other year. You talk about AI, you talk about ML, you talk about any development skill, app development skill. That space keeps evolving every now and then. So if you stick to a particular skill when it comes to hiring somebody, okay, Ashwin, I'm looking at Java full stack, right? So do you really need somebody who just has the Java full stack? Or you also look at a potential in a candidate who has actually showcased that ability to you during your course of discussion or interview, where he says, look, I'm ready to unskill and reskill. So I'm showing that enthusiasm in me to you, that you don't just interview me for what I am, what I've gained in the last 5, 6, 10 years, but also see to what I can do for you whenever there is a change in your so-called requirements, right? So this is the key difference which I've seen between the regions, right? But I think we are all aligning together of late, because companies, countries, they have realized that you can't just stick to a particular skill. You need to keep that space evolving as time changes, as demand arrives. I think that's an answer to your question, I hope.
Yes, I think I'm satisfied with the answer.
Yeah. And I think that remains as a key element, right? I mean, honestly speaking, if you remember, there were times where we used to look at pager, and then you came to mobile phone, and then within mobile phones you looked at smartphones,
Sure.
touchscreen, quick keypad, right? And everything today happens on your phone, right? So that evolution relates to what the countries and companies are trying to do as well, right? Today, they don't care what balance you carry in your bank account, but do you have a smartphone? In fact, smartphone, if I were to relate to what I've seen in some of those so-called forums, I realized that smartphone actually helps you to manage 60% of your activities in a day. You want food, you use your smartphone, go to Swiggy or Zomato app, you order the food, right? You want to basically have a video consultation during an emergency with a doctor, you have a Practo app, right? You need anything, and I think 60% is probably a way below assumption. I think it actually goes as high as 80 or 90% of your daily tasks.
True.
Right?
I think our screen time says a lot. What I have seen is personally, the most of the people's screen time is more than 6 hours or 8 hours. I mean, hardly you get 16 hours of active time apart from the sleep. I think you are talking about 50% of the time actually getting into the screen.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, as you are someone who are already deeply into the talent acquisition or the recruitment, so what is the advice that you want to give to students who are building their skills currently?
Well, honestly, I think you see, I don't want to give you a traditional orthodox answer to that question, but let me give you some real-time life experiences, right? You see, I told you at the beginning of our conversation that I'm a BTech graduate, but I'm doing recruitment. So do I see myself as somebody who has accomplished in the career? I say to some extent, or rather to a great extent. Why? Because I followed my passion, right? Not my qualification. So somebody should know what is their passion and where is their passion is. If somebody wants to basically be in a particular technology role, then they should give their best. So the key for somebody to achieve something or to become someone in their life or career is the passion. Then comes your confidence levels, which I think evolves over a period of time, right? And also your so-called ability to experiment. I just told you that, the potential to unlearn and relearn, right? The interest to drive your passion. These are the key elements. You put me in a classroom for 10 days, you teach me some coding language. If I don't have a passion to learn, if I don't have a passion to pursue what you are teaching me in a classroom, I think I'm wasting your time and my time. The key to somebody who wants to be basically successful or drive their own passion is actually that confidence and passion, which becomes the key element. right? There could be 100 different skills, there could be 100 different technologies that you can learn over a period of time, but I think the key component is what is that you want to become and what is the best that you can give for yourself if you really want to be somewhere or someone in a particular time.
Understood. Right. So I think that's something what you would suggest to figure it out first.
Exactly.
Right.
Simple. That's the word. Figure it out. Right. I think figure out what you want to be. Right. So there are many students I meet during my campus visits. Right. Somebody says, "Oh, we hear a lot about AI ML. What is it all about?" I'm not a techie. I may not be able to give you 100% tech related answers, but I think there are people who are confused about which technology or skill they need to build up. My answer to them is figure out what you want to be. You want to be a cybersecurity specialist, or you want to be a good programmer, or you want to be somebody who believes in next gen technologies, right? So that's something which you have to figure it out, right? And then give your 100% best.
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense. So the next question is, we often hear about this particular thing, saying that we kind of often hear about this cultural fit. Right? What does that exactly mean, right? And what's the advice for our students regarding that cultural fit?
Very good question, which every HR would always struggle to catch up, right? You see, culture defines an organization, right? The identity of an organization is the kind of values and culture they practice. And you may say it's a cliche HR answer, Ashwin. Well, you may say it's a cliche HR answer, but I would say it's the real answer, right? So, what is a cultural fit? I'll give you a classical example, right? When I went to Malaysia, being an Indian from India and working among Malaysians, and Malaysia has different races and ethnicities, people from different backgrounds coming there, right? They always say that you have to eat noodles with your chopsticks. But we never used chopsticks. At least during my childhood, I never had an opportunity to eat with chopsticks or to use chopsticks. So I ended up using fork and spoon. Even that took some time for me to master, right? Then the moment they see you eating with fork and spoon, when your fellow Malaysian friend is eating with chopsticks, that itself shows that your cultural assimilation has not happened yet. And immediately they start asking you, are you from India? Or are you from a particular country? Answer is yes. Meaning, the identity of yours is decided by how you practice the culture, right? Especially when you are new to that particular organization, country, entity, whatever you say. So likewise, every organization has their own ways of doing business, has their own values to practice when you're with them between that 9 to 6 or whatever, right? So is it a rocket science, or is it that difficult for somebody to fit into that culture? The answer is no, definitely not. It took me 2 years to learn to eat with chopsticks, because I know I'm going to be there for at least next few years. And was there any compulsion on me that I should learn eating with chopsticks? The answer is no. I think it's a choice that I made, right? Because if you are among those 9 people and you're the 10th person, if you think you can be part of that group by contributing to their so-called cultural practices, then I think you can be giving your best to learn how you can assimilate among those people of a group of 9 people, right? So the cultural fitment is nothing but, every company, when I was in Standard Chartered, I had different ways of working. When I'm in DBS has its own ways of working, right? An approach to a problem was very different in Standard Chartered versus an approach to a problem in DBS. Mm-hmm. Do we have cultural connection to it? Yes. In Standard Chartered, I would be expected to work at least a number of hours, versus in DBS, there's little more flexibility, right? So I think I'm nobody to say that this is good or that is bad. It's all about how you want to basically contribute to yourself to fit into that particular culture.
Mhm. So, one just follow-up question on top of it. What does a typical HR looks at? Is it a student, or let's say a candidate has to have the existing culture of the company, or is it the adaptability that they look at, whether the candidate can actually adapt to the existing culture or not?
Yes, that's the right word. So adaptability is what we look at, right? I mean, of course, if I'm hiring somebody from a company uh, which has a different culture altogether or ways of working altogether, my assessment is, do you have the adaptability or adaptable attitude to fit into what I am trying to hire you for?
So let's assume you are interviewing a candidate, right? So in the cultural fit round, let's assume. How do you check that?
Well, you see, example, I would ask you, are you somebody who believes in 9 to 6, or are you somebody who believes in flexible timings? Does it mean that DBS is so flexible to let them work anytime, anywhere? The answer is no. But flexibility also means that you need to sometimes contribute yourself beyond 6 o'clock when there's a need for it. So my assessment of any candidate is to see how do they answer to some of these great questions, right? Is it only working hours? The answer is no. If you ask me, am I expected to wear formals in my organization? The answer is no. But whenever there is a need for it, when there is a visit by my so-called management team or clients, the expectation by natural is that you should be in an acceptable attire. I can't be expected to come with torn jeans or casual sneakers on my feet, right? So there are many. I mean, you can't ask me, are there only 5-6 questions that actually help you to assess somebody's cultural adaptability skills? No, there are many other ways to look at and assess people, right?
So just to re-emphasize what you said, it's that adaptability is what you look at majorly, and
Absolutely.
you get to understand through different set of
Absolutely.
questions and what are the organizations that you're working with.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashwin. I think that was really good. That a lot of students actually struggle saying that what exactly that company looks for. That is what they don't know.
See, like I said, right? So there are companies who are still follow the traditional ways of working where they expect you to be in formals, right? But I think it is always better that you ask your employer as to what is their so-called expectations out of you. Are you somebody who expects us to be in example? I'm just giving dress code as a closest example, right? Or easiest example, right? Do you expect people to come in formals? The answer is up to you. You can be in smart casuals. Good. Setting that expectation right at the beginning itself, right? There are companies who do not expect you to be in formals even for an interview. But the culture in India is that if you're attending an interview, you need to come with a formal, properly tucked in. With some companies, some people even practice wearing tie, right? Polished shoes, right? So that is the ideal expectation because that's how we've been brought up, right? A country like India where interviews means you need to be in formals,
True.
right? But I think there are few organizations where my friends share their own stories, right? I was looking awkward being in formals when the interview was in a t-shirt, right? And I think pandemic also playing a very important role there, where it has actually changed perception of people, where they say that it's okay even if you appear on camera with a t-shirt on. Gone those days where you need to be in a proper tie, formals. Yeah. I think adaptability is a key factor.
Sure. Right. I think you have hired maybe hundreds of, at least at a fresher level alone, right?
Yeah.
So when you're hiring these hundreds of people, what are the top 3 things that you look at them? Top 3 things which are non-negotiables while hiring.
See, one is obviously the attitude, right? I mean, I'm sharing more from an HR perspective, right? So technical part is anyways taken care by the right panel. But when it comes to HR, we look at the attitude, right? Communication skills to actually a great extent, right? Because we live in a world where we communicate in English. So attitude, communication skills, and potential.
Mhm.
You don't need to be 100% fit for what I'm hiring you for. But if you show me that 100% potential in you, then I think you're a right hire. I can bet on you, right? So it's attitude, potential, and comm skills.
Sure. Great. So I think I'm clear on this communication skills part. So if you try to double click on what's attitude, so what exactly that you look in the attitude, maybe that would be helpful.
See, attitude is again an ocean, right? I mean, for example, for me, what does attitude means being in recruitment? Attitude is something where do I show that positivity in me to accept challenges?
Mhm.
Or do I somebody who always negate the challenges? You can also say the risk taking attitude, right? That's one of the way to explain the attitude in a applicant or a student, right? The other thing is, how do you basically keep yourself welcoming to challenges in any environment? So that perfectly describes what is your attitude towards your working environment, towards you taking up a new employment or a new opportunity or a new job, right? So for me, these are the few areas how and what I look in a attitude per se.
Mhm.
Right? There could be lot many other ways to assess somebody's attitude. Somebody might even say that, oh, I just need the person to be wearing a smile.
Mhm.
As simple as wearing a smile. That shows the right attitude, the positive attitude, right? Many ways to look at it.
So one of the major thing that, as you said, it's definitely an ocean. One of the things that majorly you look at how willing they are to take up the challenges is something what you look
The
at.
willingness
majorly.
in you, yeah.
Understood. Got it. Fine. And so one is attitude. Can you also double click on the words that I just missed on?
Potential.
Yes, sorry. So also, can you double click on the potential part?
See, potential is something where you see, I may not know everything and anything in HR, though I'm specialized in recruitment. But do I show that potential in me to basically test and try something which I've never experimented before?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have that caliber to take up new opportunities? Right? Do I have the right attitude to basically pick up new things, to learn new things?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that is a potential in simple terms to me. And the other thing is, somebody says that, you learn by experience, you learn by age, right? I think, yeah, but you also learn with right potential, right caliber.
True.
Correct? Age, experience is one side of it. The other side of it is, do you have that potential? If the founder of KFC, Colonel Sanders, could form KFC at the age of 70, 75, what does it mean? He failed. I don't know if that is true or it's just a myth.
Yeah.
But if you read his story, I think he founded KFC when he was at the age of 70 plus. Right? So what does it mean? The attitude coupled with potential.
True.
And hence, today you get to see KFC in every nook and corner.
True. And now it's making sense for me. Thank you. I have one question as well.
Yep.
So as a student, how important it is to create an online professional presence? Let's say in terms of LinkedIn or in terms of GitHub, right? So whatever it is. So fundamentally, how can the students make their profile very attractive to the recruiters directly?
Good question, right? So making yourself visible on some of these critical social platforms, which is, like you said, LinkedIn, and some job boards like Naukri, Monster, and so on and so forth. I think that creates the access for you to the larger recruitment community, right? Do I go elsewhere to find my candidates? Yes, like you said, GitHub. There could be several other platforms, but some of the most sought after platforms, or some of the most platforms in demand where you get access to the recruiters is, like you said, LinkedIn and the other job boards, right? And now comes the point, how do we make our profiles attractive? You see, qualifications, no brainer. right? Uh, the skill stack, no brainer, because it's all there. What can really make a difference is, what are your accomplishments, right? What have you done differently? Oh, I'm with this services company, I was working for this client. Fine, that's okay. But what I would like to say is, what have you done? What have you achieved? Right? Is that a traditional way of looking at CVs? Definitely not. Because you see, we are also moving away from the traditional approach of recruitment, right? Oh, how many projects have you done? How many years of experience you have? While that may become part of your selection criteria, but the key aspect for me to shortlist somebody is, what kind of projects have you done and how neatly can you explain about your accomplishments, right? That really differentiates. Yeah.
Understood. Got it. So, even a fresher's perspective, that would be still relevant.
It is. If you're a fresher, I'm sure if you come from a certain background, you always have something to say about your so-called accomplishments. It could be tech related or it could be something else which can actually create that excitement and enthusiasm. If I'm hiring a fresh graduate from the market and if I see you on a LinkedIn, then my perception is, I know that you don't come with any so-called tech experience unless you call it on your CV. But otherwise, I come with a mindset that I'm seeing you as a fresh grad and I want to see what have you done in your life, right? What is that you think you can raise your collar and say, this is what I've achieved?
Great, great. So, what are the major questions that I want to ask? I think you gave wonderful answers. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So, before going forward, I just want to say one thing. So, this is something we are doing it for the first time. We are having something called as a rapid fire.
Okay.
Right. So, where I'll ask a couple of questions, you can answer in a single word or with a small phrase.
Sure. Yeah.
Fine. I'll just start asking a few questions. If you have to choose one, great cultural fit, great technical skills.
As an HR, I will see great cultural fit.
Okay. One tech skill that is hot right now.
AIML.
Great. What's your favorite interview question that reveals candidates' true potential or the candidates' true potential?
It may sound a little cliche, but I always ask them, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
What is something that is unique in Indian freshers that you can't find anywhere else?
I still see career objective on the CV, okay, which I don't see. I mean, honest admission, I've not seen this in other countries' fresh grad CVs.
An overused tech buzzword.
Java full stack is
one thing a fresher should be cautious about during their entire hiring process.
You see, you should always stick on to what you want to do in your next role.
This is, we're done with the rapid fire. Thank you so much. And one last thing I just want to ask, if you have to give an advice to all the students, I mean, we have really wonderful students coming from different locations and different backgrounds. So they have been through multiple things. So we have seen thousands of people who aspired this way and then they actually got into the jobs. They never heard about something. They never felt that getting tech job was their thing, but they were able to do it with the help of Next Wave. So for the students who are aspiring right now, who are currently under learning, right? So what is that something advice that you want to give them?
Like I said, I think you need to figure out what you want to achieve, right? Unless and until you have the clarity there, no matter what you do, no matter how much money you spend, you will not be able to succeed, right? So have that clarity in your mind first and then work towards it. Once you've decided, once you have the clarity as to what you want to achieve, what you want to become, I think you have to give your 100% best and rest assured, everything will be taken care of, right? So the clarity on your so-called goalpost has to be there, right? And when you have the clarity, make sure you also have passion to drive it. I'm an example. Though I have a BTech qualification, I thought I can do better being in recruitment. So I had that clarity and I ensure that my passion is aligned to what I want to or where I want to pursue my career. So that's a key, and that's a suggestion which I would recommend, not just to the fresh grads or the students that you may have, but to everybody in that sense, right? We need to be very clear about what we want to achieve in our lives.
Got it. So thank you so much, Ashwin. I think it was really insightful session. I think most of the students, they learned definitely a lot of new things in the perspective of a recruiter, how exactly, what's the lens of recruiter fundamentally. So that is what I think we got a lot of idea about currently, right? So thank you so much for coming here and, helping us, helping our students to understand what exactly
Sure.
it
Anytime.
would look
Pleasure
like,
is mine, Karthik. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to interact with those hundreds and thousands of students you may have, right? I think Next Wave is really creating that wave, right? I think you're creating that next phase of thoughts in the market, and I think I should congratulate you and support you on that, right? So you should continue what you're good at, right? And please ensure that what you do, whatever you offer, is actually relevant to the times that are getting changed. That evolution, aligning with the evolution of whatever tech skills, technology stacks should be there.
Great. Sure. I think that is what we are more cautious about all the time, because we have to be very much industry relevant all the time. So that's the reason why we keep on speaking to the people like you, or people across different organizations at different levels, for us to understand what exactly industry is looking for. That is something what we make sure that we are very much relevant all the time, and we are very cautious about it, to be specific. And yeah, so I think one question that I have, right? So a couple of questions related to Next Wave, right? So what do you think Next Wave is trying to solve? And do you think Next Wave is successful to a certain extent? What's your views on it?
Look, with all that limited interactions I've had with you and your colleagues, right? I understand that you definitely want to provide that out of the box solution to some of those people who are stuck at some phase of their career, as to how they can make those technology advancements in the technological space, right? It could be through learning, it could be through training, it could be through upskilling, right? I think you've got the right capability here, as I experience knowing you and your model. You should actually continue doing on it. Like I said, as long as you stay relevant, as long as you have that so-called consistency in your services of offering, I think you'll be hitting that top-notch, I don't know what you call startups, very soon.
Sure. I think we are done with the question.
Great.
Thank you so much, Ashwin.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
You take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.